Most traders freeze when it matters most, but when you have trained your mind, your process takes over. In this video, I'm not just breaking down the setup I took on pound dollar. I will show you what I was thinking before the trade, what I journaled during the trade actually live, and what I reflected on after it played out. Stick around, this one might shift how you approach your next setup during the live market. If you are new here, welcome to the Trader's Gap. I document my live trades, mindset, and decision making so you can see how theory meets execution for real. And that's the whole goal of this YouTube, right? Closing the gap. And without any delay, let's go on the daily time frame, what I was thinking and how I prepare, right? So on the daily time frame, we got this recent breakup structure, right? And the fact that 2 days ago we got this impulsive move to the downside, leaving that led to the breakup structure, right? So now this is the strong high, which is this one as well. This is the internal price action for me. I'm seeing this as an internal breakup structure. Now it's significant, right? It's significant breakup structure with lots of momentum. There is no any pullback, like there is no any corrective price action that shows that pretty much. See how bulls were corrective here, but this time like the bears were really aggressive, and the momentum is quite strong. It didn't even mitigate the prior candle as well, but in the EQ, right? So after we led to the breakup structure, we expect it to be a pullback. So when is that pullback gonna kick in? The pullback is gonna kick in after we sweep those kind of external range liquidity, right? For me, this was the external range liquidity. So after the breakup structure, we expect a pullback. And the fact that we have mitigated this refined demand, which was completely unmitigated, and we had this a small lead in front of it, and the fact that we got this hammer candle yesterday, which makes this really high probability, so that signaling that probably we may get at least a reaction. So when will that reaction be up to? Well, we don't know, but we're going to use 4 hour and the 1 hour time frame to see what's going to happen, right? And we will act accordingly. So on the 4 hour time frame, what do we got here? Let's see. On the 4 hour time frame, we don't have any structural confirmation that we are going to pull back yet, but we can clearly see that there was a pullback over there, and now we got the push up, and we can see that bullish momentum is kicked in. Yes, it's not a fractal high, right? But I can see that bullish momentum is there. It's kind of like they're stepping in, and maybe this is the move that's gonna come into the supply and then maybe roll over to the downside, right? Because this demand is such a high probability. If we scroll back to the 4 hour time frame, see this range was completely unmitigated, hasn't even tapped. We have this clean inducement just above, which makes this zone very high probability. And the fact that we have not mitigated before, this makes this very high probability to at least get some bullish reaction. So yeah, this bullish reaction may be enough already, and maybe we go down, right? But that's how when I'm gonna using the 1 hour time frame, because if I use 1 hour time frame, if I see that clear bullish range, for example, the POI formed through sweep of liquidity, nice corrective pullback into this demand, then fine, I'll play the buys, because market is showing that it wants to push up. I'm not just blindly following the longs just because we have mitigated. I want to have that structural confirmation from the 1 hour time frame, and I'm gonna use the entry model as well, which is gonna put me in a very, very shift rather than just getting into the trade just because we have mitigated the high time frame. I really need to see the confirmation first on the lower time frames, and then that's how gonna be executed during the live market, so that I won't feel very like overconfident, or I don't take two risks just because we have mitigated, because I need to see that confirmation on the lower time frame. That will save me plenty of losses. And yeah, so now if we jump into the 1 hour time frame, that was how I was thinking on the 4 hour time frame, and this supply was acting as a magnet, which is this one, right? So we have this nice pullback, and with this supply is acting as a magnet, and the fact that we have been pretty much bullish shows that yeah, bulls are in control. And all I want to see is like I explained, yeah, I want to see the well developed range formed in this area, so that I can have that plenty of room to play longs into this kind of 4 hour supply, because supply and demand act as a magnet for price, right? And yeah, so if we go on the 1 hour time frame, what do we got? Yeah, we got this bearish structure, right? And today what we got this 1 hour breakup structure giving this low strong. That means we already got the confirmation on the 1 hour time frame that we got this structure shift that I was talking to, right? I'm not gonna be aggressive at this point, right? I'm not gonna be aggressive here. I'm not gonna be aggressive over here as well. I just want to see the confirmation. For example, now we're pulling back, right? I don't want to play buys just here, right? I don't want to play buys here. I don't want to play buys here. Now, what I want to play the buys is like now I want to play buys from this kind of range, because I can take plenty of losses just because I didn't wait for the structural confirmation. So waiting for the structural confirmation in the lower time frames, for me, that's 1 hour time frame, can really help me to be not in the wrong side of the market, to be on the right side of the market, because that's often when we see that trend change on the lower time frame, and that's gonna be the move that actually makes sense for it to pull back. So that's what I was thinking, right? We got this recent breakup structure, and yeah, all I was waiting for the appreciation was, yeah, a well-developed range formed during the session, and just capitalize on the buys because we have this 4-hour supply acting as a magnet, right? So this was a pre-Frankfurt open. We don't have any clear price action to work from yet. All we know is this demand was in control, right? And since this was not the high probability demand in the world, because this was created pre-session, I think it was created during the spread hours as well, with lots of liquidities resting above, resting below. And the fact that we have mitigated all this kind of demand, if you see, it's not high probability. So now what I want to see is, I want to see a POI that was formed through sweep of liquidity, giving me the confirmation that it wants to push higher and then go from there. So just sitting on my hand, yeah, there's gonna be interesting price action, because the fact that we have not coming from anything yet, which makes this high probability that price may wants to pull back. And yeah, for bearish, not really interested in bearish until and unless we don't see that bearish order flow kicked in, because we're coming with such an impulsive move. Yeah, it often gets it takes time to decelerate for a while, and it will show the bearish motive. So for sales, I want to see a sustained bearish order flow. Ideally, we'll have the liquidity resting, but for now, focusing on the buys. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. Let's go bar by bar now. This was session opened, and what do we got? Yeah, we swept these Asian lows, right? And we do not have a shift yet. So what I was thinking and what I was waiting for was price to break this kind of highs. Even by the wick break will be fine for me, because we don't have any clear demand yet. It's not a valid, because for it to be a valid demand, it has to break some form of structure. It doesn't really matter if it's by the wick or the candle body close. We should get that institution is kicking in, because if there is no involvement of the institutions, then there is not going to be a high probability POI. I can make sense that probably I can forecast that it may go like that, but until and unless I don't see that structure break, I'm not going to be aggressive on the buys. So all I was waiting to see during the session was, let's see if we can get the break, right? And then we'll see. So we go next day. I like the fact that we just swept the liquidities, strong reaction coming into the London session, and yeah, we'll go bar by bar. We haven't break it yet. We got a nice break of structure over there, giving me that 1 hour internal break of structure. So this is very well developed internal range. Why? Because it was formed through sweep. So what happened? What happened was we got a nice push up, nice corrective pullback. We got a push up as well. We induced more participants in the market, right? And now that we get liquidated, and after that liquidated gone, we got this strong push up. Yeah, leaving that liquidity above with this unmitigated demand. Now it's going to be very high probability to play a trade, because what do we got now? It's a very well developed internal range formed through sweep, right? So now there is a demand over there, right? Since this inducement just above was there, I wanted to be a little bit loose with the POI, and I'm going to explain why I used this kind of discretion in the live market, and I'm going to share the real trade, the driven session journal later. Stick around. And yes, since the fact that we got this inducement just above, I used that as an inducement for deeper mitigation into this kind of POI. And yeah, all I was waiting to see, like, if we can get mitigated here, and I'm just going to use my entry model. So this is the time I want to be aggressive. Why? Because we have just reached the daily demand. and the 4 hour time frame, we are starting to see that push up. On the 1 hour time frame, we got this internal break of structure as well, and the fact that we got this liquidity sweep during the session, and the V-shape move into the coming into the session, and the fact that we are not coming from anything at all makes this high probability trade. And if I position myself to the other side for the bearish, yeah, we mitigated this kind of supply range. If we look on the daily time frame, maybe yeah, we go, but mitigating this kind of daily demand with this hammer candle and the London session kicked in, and this fact that we have this nice daily candle as well, it's starting to show that probably we may get the push up, makes it very high probability. And yeah, so that's what I was thinking. And if we go into the M15 now, what do we got? Let's see. So all I was waiting to see was, let's see if we can get the liquidated, because this is the daily this is the 1 hour lead as well. So I'm gonna use this on the M15 because it's more than valid for me to use, because now all I'm expecting is nice push down and then bang. So that's how I was thinking. So I'm just waiting for pure mitigation. I do nothing, right? There's nothing for me yet. So now we got this liquidated, and yeah, we got a nice push up. I did not really love the small candle, right? And I gave extra buffer. I'm gonna explain why I did that, because this is a little bit subjective and I used a little bit discretion, but I did from the data. I'm gonna explain you guys a little bit later. And yeah, we got a nice push up initially, right? And yeah, we started to show the reactions. At this point I was expecting that we have been creating some kind of liquidities. I was expecting price may mitigate here and then eventually go up, but it didn't do that. And there was some kind of news as well that created some volatility, and it just tanked to the downside. So it was such a valid trade. It was high probability trade for me. I'm gonna execute this again and again and again. So now here's where it gets different. I want to take you inside my mind, like during the trade, what I was thinking. And this kind of journaling keeps me really grounded and like without any overreacting into the live market and no emotional impulse, just real-time awareness. So I'm gonna share with you guys over there. So this is what I was saying. So at this point, what I was thinking, let's bring it back here. All right. So at 12:43, there is I said there is a bit inconsistency in the entry model and the POI from this demand, because I can see the perfect lead over there, and I took another candle as well because it was mitigated. So normally whenever we have that impulsive move, like engulfing prior to candles and the 3 candles, it normally does not mitigate much deeper, right? Like for example, this is such a high probability trade for me, and I need to be aggressive when this kind of setup presents. So it makes so much sense that if we sweep this slit, then they may not be pulled back like that. So taking into that consideration, I took another candle as well, because bullish engulfing candle has engulfed prior to candles. I wanted to be a little bit loose with stop loss, and it just makes sense to take this trade. And even though if I put extra buffer, it doesn't really matter, because I do have enough risk to run on my side, because all I was expecting during the session was my bias for the long was up to this kind of 4 hour supply. So I do have plenty of risk to run on my side, even to the week high was just 2 hour. So because of that, it didn't really matter, because I do have enough risk to run on my side. Maybe I'll give extra buffer like 3 pips, because there's gonna be high impact news as well. So yeah, don't want to be super tight. I want to be a little bit loose, and I'm allowed to be loose as well. At 12:46, I got involved in this trade and gave 3 pips buffer, right? Gave 3 pips, but just so that if we can mitigate here as well, I would be still in the trade, because yeah, of the enough risk to reward, and the entry candle was a bit small as well. Whenever risk to reward makes sense to me, and if there is a chance for deeper mitigation into POI, then I'm allowed to use this extra buffer. I'm not going crazy here with the buffer, right? It made sense, and I'm being objective here. So this is all from the data, guys. Like I'm not acting on the basis of like fear or like whatever. I have seen this plenty of time. Whenever we have this unmitigated kind of POIs over there, especially on the 1 hour time frame, we tends to mitigate, mitigate and then go. But the fact that we have this clean leg inducement just above, and this is the perfect balance to have. Just allow yourself to have that extra buffer. And just from the data, I recommend you guys to test first and then implement, right, if you want to. And yeah, after at 12:52, which was this time, I'm 12:50 at this candle, right? At 12:52, after I analyzed again from the daily time frame, like saying like, What do we got? We got this daily mitigations, and we have a nice hammer candle on the daily time frame. From 4 hour, we are starting to see the pushing up, and supply above is acting as a magnet. On 1 hour time frame, it's a very high probability PY form through sweep with inducement. It's a well developed bullish range. We are coming from literally nothing, which makes this very high probability. So this is all the during session journal I recorded during the live market, and this is exactly how I planned. I'm not acting on a fear. I'm being very objective, and I'm being awareness during the live market. This is what it takes to be a consistent profitable trader, guys. And yeah, and what I was thinking on the 1255, that's just like 3 minutes later. I feel like the price action is moving very slow, right? 1255, I think it was around, it was 1235, I think. I'm not sure. Yeah, so I feel like price action is moving very slow. My order has not been executed yet. I think it was in this candle, right? Yeah, so it was in this candle. It was kind of like slow at this point, and I was like, because of the news, maybe we may get chopped around. But after a couple of minutes, we got the strong push up. So yeah, and my order got executed over there, and at 1303 I got nice strong bullish move generating buy sell liquidities above. At this point, what I was saying earlier as well, maybe now we are creating this kind of buy sell liquidities above, so that it can fuel the move to the upside. So it was all expected, but I was not expecting this move at all. Yeah, such a clean trade. All right, and yeah, good job on executing this regardless of the outcome. So it was more than valid for me to take this trade. So yeah, this journaling helps me massively to reflect the next day, and even after like breaking to you guys as well, it makes so much sense that I really executed this trade, and this is according to my trade plan. So another thing that I want to mention to you guys as well, if you are still here, I do a mindset reflection as well after the trade is closed. For example, this is the trades. For example, what? So yeah, after the trade closed, right, I run through some questions and I ask myself every session. So this is my personal reflection checklist. And if you don't already use something like this, feel free to borrow it, use it, right? Try. These questions give me clarity. This helps me separate a good loss from a bad decision. And they keep me grounded in process, not emotions. So that's where the consistency is built in, right? So these are the set of questions that I ask myself after the trade closed, exactly on time, not the next day, immediately after the trade closed. So the question is, how did I feel just after this trade closed? I was a bit confident on this setup, but it's okay. It's probability. I feel normal. So understanding that it's a probability game, even though it's a high probability setup, that's key. And yeah, I was a bit confident on this setup, and it's okay, and it's pretty normal to have this kind of emotions, right? What was my best mental decision in this trade? Being aware and observing price action objectively, and being confident when executing. What mental mistake did I notice? There was none, to be honest. There was none actually. And did I follow my business trend plan fully? Yes, 100%. Mindset relation, I do ask 2 questions. What did I learn about my emotions or discipline in this trade? Executing trade, I'm allowed sorry, a little bit mouthful. Executing trade, I allowed discretion in objective way. There was no act from fear. This is the key. You know, like many people use discretions not because it was backed by the data, because they feel like they really have that gut feeling, you know, like they have the intuition, but they don't know, or they don't have the data to back it up for that kind of intuition. So whether it's intuition, whether that's gut feeling, whether they have like experience, it doesn't really matter until and unless you don't see that in your data, like until and unless you don't have that enough sample size. Just because I feel that it wants to go this way, I don't have to execute. I really need to see it has played out before in the past, and if it's profitable, then fine, I'll go with it, right? So this part of discussion has an edge for me. That's make this for me to not act from the fear, but from the data. So what I'm going to carry into the next trade, journaling, really good, thought process, really good, and the confidence for this setup. So yeah, drop a comment where you have taken this trade or would you have hesitated, right? So subscribe for more breakdowns like this, guys. From live setups to the mindset relations, I document it all wins, losses, and everything in between. This is how we bridge the gap between strategy and the real execution. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. See you in the next one. Cheers.